Unlike printing on white or other light colored t-shirts, printing dark colored t-shirts can present certain challenges. There are certain tips and tricks to printing dark shirts, and in this section we're going to cover what you need to know about printing on darks. Multicolor printing on dark shirts will almost always involve the use of an underbase. An underbase, usually printed with white ink, is used to seal the surface of the garment and to provide for a white background on which the artwork will be printed. Furthermore, single color printing on dark shirts is best achieved with the use of a specially formatted ink known as super opaque to achieve the opacity of an acceptable print. The print flash print, or PFP technique, can sometimes be eliminated by using multiple print strokes, of which the last stroke is a coating stroke that will effectively seal the print to achieve desired opacity. As mentioned previously, perfecting the coating stroke requires a certain mastery of the screen printing craft and will also usually require the use of special ink formulations. Let's talk about artwork for dark shirts. More often than not, the customer will supply you with artwork that depicts the image exactly as they want it to be printed on the shirt. That is, white or other colored image on a black background. Keep in mind we're talking strictly about a one-color or grayscale photo print on a black shirt. To convert an image like this into a production-ready film is very easy. Simply convert the art into a black and white or grayscale bitmap and invert it using a bitmap editing program. The resultant image will be what you use to make your film positive. A black on white, or in other words to say, a wrong reading image to the eye. A more complicated inversion process will be when a customer supplies you with a black on white image and wants the image printed with white ink or other color on a black shirt. The simple inversion process will not work here. What you will end up having is an image that will produce a print result that appears like an X-ray. Printing art like this is somewhat more complicated. To prepare the artwork, you will have to have a corrected inverted film positive, and you will need to create an underbase of black for the image and then position the art on top of the black underbase and finally invert that composited image. Converting black and white art to make it print ready for black shirts can sometimes be confusing. Take your time and check it over thoroughly, as mistakes can easily be made. After you've done a few of these conversions, it will be much easier for you. Let's take a few minutes to talk about mesh counts for underbasing in the top color printing when printing on darks. To avoid having a shirt that has a sandpaper-like feel, we recommend that you create an underbase using a fairly high mesh count. For underbasing on t-shirts, we recommend a mesh count of around 200. Keep in mind that because the mesh counts are high, you will need to use the print flash print technique to achieve the desired opacity before any further colors can be printed on top. If you're printing on sweatshirts or other heavy type of materials, we recommend that you drop down to an underbase of a mesh count of 162 to obtain a slightly heavier ink deposit for durability on that type of garment. For colors that will be printed on top of the white underbase, we recommend the use of high mesh counts such as 254 to 305 for all of the overprint colors. Using these high mesh counts will allow you to print fine detail and halftones as well as solid areas using the wet on wet printing technique. Using these higher mesh counts will significantly reduce the ink buildup on the bottom of the screens and help eliminate dot gain and smearing of the print. If you're printing just one color on top of an underbase, you can certainly use much lower mesh counts such as 140, as these mesh counts and the ink buildup will not become an issue. Let's talk about using a white or colored underbase. Using a white underbase is the ideal way to create the white platform on which to print most jobs on a dark shirt. However, the print flash print technique makes for slow going, and ink colors other than white, including the actual imprint colors, can be printed as an underbase as well. For example, let's say you're printing widely separated spot colors on a black shirt. You may be able to use a super opaque version of the individual colors without underbasing a white underneath. Further, you may be able to print one color on top of another without the need of a white underbase if those two colors will not blend together when printed on top of each other. Printing without a white underbase is a judgment call and can only be determined by experience and the artwork that will be printed. Let's discuss the print flash print technique in detail. When printing on dark shirts, you will almost often, more than not, have to print the ink twice to achieve the desired opacity of the print. Printing the ink twice covers the fibers in the shirt so you do not see the color of the shirt showing through. To achieve complete opacity, you would use the PFP or print flash print technique. To use the PFP technique, you print the ink color, flash cure to dry the surface of the print, then apply another print stroke. The flash curing times when using the PFP technique will vary on the type and color of ink you're using. Flash curing times for white ink is typically under 10 seconds. When flash curing colored inks, however, you may need to flash the print 20 seconds or more. Moreover, the flash print on a colored print will become very hot, and it may be necessary to use either a cool down station or a chiller plate, which we'll discuss in just a few minutes, to cool the print down before printing any further prints. Let's talk about the cool down plate right now. Multiple flash cures cause a significant heat buildup on both the garment and the platen of the press. If you attempt to print other colors in the image on top of a hot underbase, a condition will develop in which the ink will actually dry in the stencil of the overprint colors. What is actually happening is the ink is partially curing in the stencil and the meshes become clogged, preventing any ink from flowing through the stencil. One simple way to avoid this problem is the use of a cool down or chiller plate. Simply press the plate on the flash cured white underbase after the second flashing and hold it on the garment for 5 to 10 seconds. The chiller plate will absorb the heat from the shirt, allowing you to print the rest of the colors without problems. As a note, you can make your own low-cost chiller plate by using a round or rectangular tin cookie sheet you can pick up in any store and attaching a simple handle to it. You can also use your speed table for cool down. If you have a speed table on your rotary screen printing press and have multiple shirts loaded, one on each platen, you can rotate the speed table. This will allow the heat to dissipate as you move on from one shirt to another. This technique is especially helpful if you have a shirt feeder to help you with garment handling during a print job. The last thing we want to talk about in dark shirt printing is something we've mentioned before, and that's the coating stroke. On some single color print jobs on dark shirts, and using certain inks such as transfer inks, it's possible that you can eliminate the flash cure with the use of a coating stroke. We've discussed the coating stroke in detail in a previous section, and we will not go over it now. However, it's something you may want to investigate if you do lots of dark shirt printing in your shop.